Hey guys, this is Jules. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I made these ornaments. I've got wood shutters, a tobacco basket, and an embroidery hoop that I made all from chipboard. And they took a while to make, and you'll be seeing why and how here in just a little bit. So first we'll start with the faux wood shutters. At my local craft warehouse, I bought these about 3 years ago for $1.50. They are wood trees and wood deer heads. They are on a garland with some bells, so I just unscrewed the little eyelet screws and took the bells off and everything. And using a folk art black matte paint, I did paint all of these, only one-sided and the edges. Just measuring so I know how much or how big to make these. The chipboard sizes that you need are 3 pieces that are 3 inches by 3/4 of an inch, 3 pieces that are 3.5 by 3/4 of an inch, and 2 that are 2 1/4 by 1/2 an inch. I'm using Folk Art's vintage white paint, acrylic paint. I'm just going to paint one side of these, and I'll do the edges as well, and just set them all aside to dry. Now for the deer heads, these are the larger ones. I'll be using an emery board. This one is 100 grit, but you want probably something a little softer, and I had to be a little bit more softer in sanding these. But this is just to distress the paint off of it so it looks like fake wood. I'm going to mark on just the bottom one for the black quote-unquote nails, but they are little itty-bitty brads that I've had in my stash for quite a while. I think I got in a scrapbook expo or something years ago. I'm just going to use a paper piercer that I've had for a long time. I'm going to just put the brads on. I'm just going to line them up a little bit here and hold them really good together so there's no gaps, just to close it up really nice, and just using hot glue. I used hot glue for the entire thing pretty much. Now I'm just going to go ahead and use that same emery board and sand at the edges as best as I can. And voila. So I have macrame cord that's 4-ply, and I split them into 2. Because I don't need them that thick. So this is about I think it's an 8-inch long, and I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue there. I'm going to fan out the ends so that I can do a little bit of a reinforcement piece of chipboard that'll hide that little fan look. Here's that little itty bitty piece. And it is just going to help to keep the entire thing closed. Another one for the bottom. And I don't paint the back side of it. I was going to, I didn't feel it necessary. It might bug me enough later on, I might do it before I put it on my tree. But anyways, hot glue for the deer head. And there we are. Now this is from my haul that I just posted a day or 2 ago. I'm just taking off pieces of that evergreen and just gonna make a little decoration of greenery and Christmassy stuff there. These are little white glittered berries, and those are pine cones from my previous project from 7 years ago. I still have that bag. So I did tear the fabric in a bunch of strips, and I made a bunch of bows for all of my ornaments. And as if you've done this before, you know that it's a little bit messy when you tear fabric. So I had to clean up every single strip. And there's my bow. Here we've got the little pine cone. I only do 1 pine cone on this ornament because they're pretty small. And I did the exact same steps with the Christmas tree. There's the back side. It's just a little bit smaller, 3 inches tall. Cute. All right, let's start with the faux embroidery hoop. Oh, this was so much fun to make. I loved this. I wanted to do this with real embroidery hoops, and I'm like, you know what, I can probably make those. Here's the one that I had at home. That one's about 4.5 inches, I think. But you're gonna need 30 pieces if you're gonna do 15 like I did of the 12-inch by 1/2 inch. So you need to soak this, not soak it, but you need to spray it down with water. Spray it down enough where it is not dripping, but it's just damp enough where it becomes pliable. This legit took me like 3 minutes to really get it soaked enough where, again, it's not dripping, but it becomes pliable. And I'm using a candle jar that is about almost 11 inches in diameter. And as you can see how smoothly it just wrapped around there. If you do it and it's too dry, it's gonna crack on you. So you really, really, really wanna give it time to be very pliable. So just using some of the rubber bands to just hold it in place. I had about 4 of these jars, and I just wrapped them around the lid, and I wrapped them around the sides of the, as you can see here, sides of the jar. This one here is a little bit, just a little bit wet still, just a tiny bit damp. I'm gonna use some magic clips and just to hold them in that shape and set them aside. And these are already dry. So what I'm gonna start doing is measure out a 1/2 inch, and I'm gonna cut that off. I ended up doing it to both, but you really don't need to do it to both. You do it to the outer one first, because you're gonna use that extra little square for the top here. I'll show you in a second. This is just the extra piece of the craft paper. So you wanna connect them, and then you wanna do that piece on top. That just kind of hides that seam. Then you want to kind of stretch this out, the inside hoop, stretch it out enough where it will close evenly. And mine had a tiny little sliver on the inside, just a little sliver. So again, with craft paper, just to connect them, and it kind of reinforces the closure when you do them on the bottom and on the top part. I don't know why I did it that way. Anyways, so then once it fits inside, it's a little snug. So here's my fabric, my gingham fabric. So I just cut squares. I went with around, I was trying to do like 6x6s, but they turned out to be like 6x8s and whatever. I wasn't sure how they were gonna fit and slide in there. So, so this is the outer hoop, and I already put a hole on the very top of it, but you wanna just, I painted it with the Folk Art paint, again, that same color, cream white. The inner hoop you don't have to paint. And using my AccuCut dies, this one is the closest size that I had. Is a little bit bigger. It's about 4 inches, almost 4 inches. And I just cut several of these out so that I can trace it, because I just want them to be covers for the back side and hide the fabric. I'll show you how I do that in a second. Just cut it all out. And that same Folk Art vintage white paint, I'm just gonna give it a coat. I go in later on and do the edges. So I'm gonna line up the hole with the outer hoop on one of the lines, and that way I know where to line up the inner one with the hole in it, and then slide my fabric in between them. And then I'm just gonna cut off the excess, leaving about a 1/2 inch, something like that, around the edges. So this is the same cording, the macrame cord. It is still the 2-ply, and I think I'm using 10 inches or 12 inches long on this one. The same paper piercer. I'm just separating the thread there, and then I go in with my crochet hook, and then I'm going to just pull the macrame cord right through that hole. And here are my little wood beads. I love these. I do paint like what I need for all 30 of them. I mean all 15 of them. And same thing, crochet hook, and I just thread them through the little hole. So what I do is I just use my hot glue, and on the inside part, I just use the tip of the hot glue gun and push them all in. I put some glue in, push all of them in, put more glue in, push all of them in and down. It's kind of like when you're pinching the edge of a pie crust. It's super satisfying. And I'm going to add the glue here on the back side so that if it squishes out, it doesn't show on the front part. So I liked that. And you can put the cover on it if you want to. I ended up doing it afterwards. But here I'm just going to add some evergreen. A couple of little pieces on the back, or the back side, the bottom part. And these are olive, I think it's olive tree branches that was on that wreath from my haul. Just going to tack those down with some hot glue, and doing a little bit of pieces here on the edges to kind of help it so it doesn't kind of flap around. All right, so I'm going to use 2 pine cones, one on each side of the evergreen, and I'm only using 1 red berry because I just want a tiny pop of red. I don't want a lot of red showing because I want it to be mainly a black and white piece. All right, let's do the back. So because I traced it, it kind of has the shape of it, because it's not a perfect circle, but so I just put hot glue on the fabric on the inside part of the hoop. Now the top, I have about 2 inches there and maybe about a 1/2 inch. So going to Pick Monkey, I'm making a banner, and I'm using this like swaying looking banner. And then this text is a typewriter text. I'm just gonna curve it, give it that curve so it kind of matches. And I'm gonna take that over to my Cricut, size it to about 2 inches wide by a 1/2 inch tall. And there we go. Then I'm gonna go and use the offset feature and set it to 0.025 and apply that. I'm gonna turn that background to red, multiply it times 15. Now I'm gonna go in and hide all of the background red pieces and just print off the banner that says Merry Christmas. And of course, taking it to my Cricut to cut all of the pieces out. We'll go back into the Cricut design space and I will hide the banners and show the offset. Do a basic cut, send it to the Cricut, and it's gonna cut all of those pieces out just a tiny bit bigger than the actual banners. Now you'll see some blinking. I'm sorry, but my light, I have a bulb that's flickering, so I apologize for that. It's gonna attach all of these on there so that I can get them put on the ornaments. It's gonna look super cute. Just a little bit of hot glue, and I think they came out adorable. Oh my gosh. So 15 of these, guys. Now for the third and final project, the faux tobacco basket. This one is time consuming and it was a little bit more complex. So I found this 2 years ago at Hobby Lobby. It was a wood little miniature ornament and I was like enamored by it. It was so cute. And I was wanting to make some myself because I didn't want to spend, it was like $7.99 per, and I think I got them on sale for maybe half off. But that's $4 a piece times how many ever I would need. So I'm figuring I could probably make it myself, and I did. This is the pile that I made. I'm gonna show you how I made these. So we're gonna start with 6 pieces that are 6.5 inches by 3/4, 2 that are 7 inches by 3/4, and then 3 to 4 pieces that's about 12 by half. These are the pieces that you'll need per basket, okay? And like the last ornament, we're going to get it really, really damp, really wet, not dripping, but let it soak up enough water so that they're pliable. Now this was the very, very first ornament that I made, so I didn't think about using the little clips, but those would have came in handy, as well as the jars. Anyways, these are the 6.5 inch pieces. We're gonna do the same thing, get them nice and pliable. And it takes about 3 minutes or so to get them nice and soaked, where they will not like crack or bend like really hard on you. You want them to softly bend. So we're just going to lift the ends up a little bit because those are the pieces that are going to go in between the outer rim and the inner rim of the basket. And you'll have to, of course, wait until they dry. You can use a heating tool, but they will warp them a little bit. So I let them kind of air dry. I just do a bunch of them and let them dry overnight with my ceiling fan on. These are the 7-inch pieces. We're gonna do a little different here. The very ends, you're gonna bend them on your knuckle. This is gonna help with them bending and like curving nice around the basket. So you wanna find your center and make a T. Then you wanna alternate and add in one of the other pieces, the 6.5 inch pieces on each side. The 7-inch pieces are set aside for later. And you want to start doing the weaving thing, and you want to, and at every point of contact, you want to add a nice dab of hot glue. And they're so stiff, and it does get a little difficult to put them in there, but you can do it. You can do it. And I'm just going to spray the edges to soften them up just a little bit, and that's going to help pull them back up a little bit, because after messing with them, you kind of end up pulling them back out. So I just try and get them really nice and aligned and get the corners or the edges flush with the rest of the sides. And then I just tack them down in the middle. There's the X. All right, so these are the 12-inch pieces. Now I always start with the middle of every of the 3 pieces. Once I have the middle piece tacked down, then I do the right and the left side. And then you'll see me just kind of shaping it. I kind of hold it and kind of figure out like, okay, this is about how tight I want it. And so I hold it in place and then I glue another middle piece. And once that's down, then I do the right and the left side again. And I want to keep the edges flush with the rim and keep them straight. And somehow I really like to make sure that I end in the center of one of the weaved pieces. Like you'll see me just do a little bit of glue on that end, and it's just going halfway on the side. And then I can glue that left side, and then I'll get a brand new piece to start again on the other side right there. So you'll see me starting there in the center I like, it feels like it holds better if I do the seams in one of those 3 sections versus a corner. It was hard doing a corner. They would come out warped. And this side is overlapping a little bit, but that's okay because I'll trim it down here. And hopefully just if it'll fit right. And a lot of times after like the 4th, 5th one, I was getting my groove on and getting it down really nice. So we're just about done here with the outer rim. We're just gonna finish this little end here. And there that is. Now we're gonna do the corners. And sometimes if I don't align it really well, a little bit of it will stick out and I'll just have to like pop it off with the scissors, just trim it down. But the majority of the time I did get them nice and flush and they looked great. So starting again on one of the three-piece sections, and I started halfway into the left-sided one because I do like to finish or start in the center of one of those 3-piece sections. But you see how the corners kind of sat really nicely in that curve. Just trimming that little excess there. And I'm gonna add in just the last little piece. All right, we're almost done with that basket. And then I'll go on and show you guys the next step. This one is a little bit crooked, but it's okay. So we're gonna use that vintage white paint, water it down, brush it on and dab it off. And that's gonna give the whitewash look like the original wood piece from Hobby Lobby that I had shown in the beginning of this particular ornament. And all of them are all whitewashed and ready to be decorated. So online, I found a template for a box and I shrunk it down in Cricut Design Space, and they are 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. And I just scored all of them and I made little like present boxes to go inside of the ornament next to a tree. And I'll show you that in a little while. But I made 15 of these little boxes and just glue them all shut. And there's some of the boxes there. Next I used the fabric ribbon and glued the ribbon on all 8 sides. Just a little bit of hot glue. And once I had all of that done, I got the double cord, or double ply, sorry, macrame cord. And I just wanted to wrap it around all the 8 sides as well, just to kind of give it a little bit more texture to the little present box. Just trim that little piece off and there they are. Oh my God, it's so cute. So I wanted to like bougie it up a little bit and add some cute greenery on top of each of the boxes. So I grabbed all of the tiny little pine cones that I can find in that bag and added some evergreen and the white snowed looking berries. I just used the little tips of some of those. My God, they came out so cute. Those can be ornaments by themselves. I probably would do like 2 by 2 size instead of 1 by 1, but they can be little ornaments themselves. They're just so adorable. And again, just the one berry, because I didn't want a lot of red on these ornaments. Look at that. Oh, they're just pretty. Here are the little trees that I found. They had different colors, but I grabbed the black because of course they went with my color theme. I wanted to soften up the bases. So I added the full 4-ply macrame cord and just wrapped it around, and it softened it up quite a bit. It made it lighter and it made it look fluffy on the bottom. So I really liked how that came out. I'm just gonna tack it down, get all the little strings all the way down, and there they are. There they are. Oh my gosh, they just give me all the Christmas feels right now. All right, one quick prep. Just getting the stars ready and I'm gonna set them aside. So I made these little like swags with some of the pine branches and some of the white berry branch. I needed something to go in front of the baskets to hide what I ended up having to do under the tree and under the little present here. So let's start here with decorating the inside or the background with some of the evergreen branches. I'm just gonna tack it all down with some glue. I'll also add some glue on the sides there to hold the evergreen branches so they don't flop out. All right, so because the basket is not like deep enough, the tree doesn't sit flush on the rim. So I had to make these little chipboard stands that I had to tuck underneath the tree to kind of give it a balanced look so it's not tipping out. Same thing with the little gift box. So just some hot glue with those little chipboard pieces, and then I had to fill in the gaps with some of those chipboard pieces as well. I layered them maybe double or with 3 layers of chipboard. That way the swag had something to adhere to. Just gonna add the little tie ribbon. So you'll see I'll add the glue there on top of that chipboard, those chipboard pieces. And that way the swag will hold on to that. And then I'll just add a bow. There's a little bit of bare spot, so I wanted to fill it up like, you know, they're in a forest. And then I'll add the star on top of the tree. And I needed to do something else to it. So we're gonna go back into PicMonkey, and I was looking to see which banner I wanted to use and decided to go with the curved one. And I didn't need to curve the lettering or anything, but I made 5 different ones. Believe, fa la la la, ho ho ho, joy, and merry, and took it into the design space. And I made 3 of each, and I went and did the exact same thing as the previous ornament. I cut the banner and the background separately, and then glued them together so that you can see the red in the background, and it's just a little bit of the red, and we're gonna hot glue that down and stick it onto the tree. And there it is. And that's it. That's my 3rd ornament. And oh my gosh, I'm so in love. I can't wait to decorate my tree. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye everyone.